Andrew Bailey.
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, sorry. No, I've already called Andrew Bailey. My apologies. No, I gave the wrong call, but once I've called you, the call goes to you. My apologies to Richard Prosser. Andrew Bailey, my apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to be speaking on this third reading of the Taxation Bill. First of all, it's great to be part of a government that actually knows what it's doing, that's actually got something to do, that's actually got a plan, and we're actually implementing it. We're not holding talk fests, and unlike some opposition parties, we're not relying on newspapers to dictate our strategy. Owning our own home is not only a cherished Kiwi dream, but it's also a fundamental right. All we've heard from many of the opposition parties is their desire for the government to be a major player, and in fact it's the only way of dealing with it, and for the government to build thousands of new homes. That is as creative as they can get. Luckily for us, we have been a little bit more thoughtful about it, because what we've done is actually thought about it from both ends of the spectrum. This bill is essentially about helping 90,000 lower and middle income New Zealanders get into their first homes. In essence, it will allow Kiwisaver members to withdraw their member tax credits when purchasing their first homes. This bill drives at the heart of the issue for many first-time buyers. That is, how do you gather sufficient money to be able to put down an adequate deposit? It supports the Homestart package announced in last year's election, which comprises 3 changes which take effect in a few days' time. These include introducing the Kiwisaver Homestart grant. This doubles the support for buying a new home and increasing the house price limits. Secondly, it enables larger Kiwisaver first home withdrawals by all the members' tax credits, other than the initial 1,000 kickstart provided by the government. And thirdly, it expands the eligibility for the Welcome Home loans by aligning the house price caps with the Kiwisaver Homestart grant. In total, this adds up to $55,000, provided a person has been in the Kiwisaver account for 5 years or more. That is an important contribution to helping to get that initial deposit that I spoke of earlier. This, together with the low interest environment that we've created as a government, means that those disciplined Kiwis who want to work hard and save now have a far greater potential to get the necessary deposit to get their first home. I just now want to return to the issue of supply, which continuously comes up. I've spoken about this before, but I just really want to discuss this in detail. We have 100 special housing zones already in place around the country, 80 of which are in Auckland. I've got 2 of them, one of which is the largest in the country, being Wesley, which will create between 4,000 and 4,500 homes. And another one just down the road was going to create another 700 homes. The Wesley one is due to start earthworks later this year, and the Belmont development is not far away. They are significant projects in their own right. But the opposition claims that not enough houses have been built is simply false. And it's very important when you just, by way of example, if you go to my electorate, from where my opposition members just sought to interrupt me, it might be just worthwhile, next time he goes out there on his weekend jaunt to see his house, that he might stop at Mission Heights and look at the avalanche of new homes coming on board. In fact, 1 a day in my estimate, 1 a day, 1 completed house every day, and I'm probably being conservative, 1 a day in that vast area of my electorate. It is a fast-growing new development. We're talking about real houses every day coming to the market. If you go over the hill, I'm sure you know where Beecham's Maraetai is. There is a vast majority. Again, The population is going to go from 8,700 to about 17,500 by 2021. Diggers, the loaders, everyone is in there now. The issue there is how we deal with the water and the wastewater connections and the roading infrastructure. But those sections can be observed, and I welcome anyone to come with me, and I will show you those areas. Then Clevedon, which I know the member opposite knows exceedingly well. In fact, tomorrow I'm off to meet a number of people, a number of developers tomorrow, who are just so keen to tell me about the 700 or 800 homes they are about to commence as soon as possible in the Clevedon area. And it is a fabulous part, as the member opposite knows. And again, I would be very happy to show anyone around that area. And then, of course, closer to Pukekohe, apart from the two large social housing areas I've spoken of earlier, we've got, again, huge amounts of developments going on, to be very specific, and Selmy Ridge. And then on Valley Road, in fact, every day people stop on Valley Road to see the extent of the development, the land excavation that is going on. We have got houses coming from everywhere across my electorate, and the issue, as I've said on a couple of occasions, is actually how the council keeps pace with the level of development that's taking place. But from another perspective, even if you don't believe me, the consent numbers actually tell you what's happening. For the 2014 year, there were just over 24,000 building consents issued countrywide. And in Auckland, there were 11,000 consents issued. And I think someone quoted yesterday, the transformation between a consent through to a house is approximately about 98%. So if a consent occurs, there's a very strong prospect that that will result in a section being offered for sale and ultimately a house being built on it. These strong consent figures carried on into January this year, with about 1,700 being issued in January 2015. All really good indicators of a strong and vibrant house market, which will, of course, ultimately lead to houses for everyone. These are all important contributions to actually dealing with the delivery of new houses in not only Auckland, but across the country. And even the Reserve Bank, in its last report to the Finance and Expenditure Committee, was indicating that they thought the housing problem was probably going to top off at the end of this year. And Christchurch, they had a view that a lot of the supply had already been dealt with. So the other thing I would just want to touch on is, particularly with the Labour government, the Labour opposition, they seem to be myopically focused on the government taking over the role of the building of new houses in New Zealand. The stats are, and I quoted these yesterday, the stats are that 25% of all houses in New Zealand are built by the top 20 builders. 1% historically have been built by government, but by far the vast majority have been built by 1, 2, 3 person building companies. And they account for roughly about 74% of all houses in New Zealand. That's why this government is absolutely focused on creating the right environment where those builders feel secure, have the right financial incentives, have the right environmental and economic environment to be able to go ahead and build the vast majority of new houses in New Zealand. And first home ownership, I just want to close out by saying, is still high even under the new LVR arrangements. According to the Reserve Bank report, again given to the Finance and Expenditure Committee, whilst the long-term average is about 10% over the last 10 years is at 19%, even with the new LVR ratios that have come in place over the last 12 months or so, we're still sitting at about 17%. So we are still seeing a lot of first-time buyers entering the market, and this package that we've set out in this taxation is another step in that overall package of helping Kiwi families get into new homes.
I call Richard Prosser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First and on behalf of